All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. And if you've been in laser engraving for a little while and you've got a diode laser, or if you're just looking into getting into a CO2 laser to start your laser engraving career or side hustle, whatever it may be, then today's video is probably one you're going to want to see. I get asked a lot, the machines that are on the market, what is the best, and I use this from my perspective, all this is from my perspective, what is the best CO2 laser on the market for a tight budget? And tight budget and CO2s, not always are phrases that go together, but there are a few machines out there that I think fit the bill for what most people would want. If you're looking for a CO2 to do jobs with that doesn't have all the bells and whistles, then come along, follow the video, and I'm going to show you what I've been working with for the past few weeks and give you my thoughts on it. It very well could be the best purchase of a CO2 for the new year with, consideration to budget. So let's move over and talk about the machine. All right, guys, so the topic of today's video is going to be the Reno 45. Now, keep in mind, there are several tiers or levels of this machine. You can get the Reno 45, the Reno 45 Pro, and of course, this model, which is the Reno 45 Pro Vision, Clacktical, if you want to add on from my upgrades. So the thing about this machine is, compared to a lot of other machines, it does have some disadvantages that some people would point out to you, being that this machine does not have a built-in chiller. So you're either going to have to go with the old bucket with some RV antifreeze and distilled water, or you're going to have to get a chiller. So that is an added expense, but if you're one of those folks like myself who has had to operate with budget in mind, you could get the machine, go buy a container to put the pump in, whether it be a tub or whatever, bucket, and then you could use that, and then once you got some money saved up, you could purchase the chiller. I am running the CW5200 from Monport on mine. I have used a bucket before here in the shop. There's some issues with using a bucket, especially if you don't have it sealed, because bugs and dust and stuff like that can get in there and lead to problems with your laser. But I have had the K40s and the M40s lasers with the 8x12 work area for CO2, and although those machines did kind of introduce me into the world of CO2s, for the most part, I could cut sheets of acrylic into small shapes, but only up to 8x12. So with this machine, you do have a somewhat larger work area. It's still not as large as some, but if you're willing to work through that, I think that's really the biggest hang up with this machine right now, is the work area is not your traditional, 20-inch wide work area. So you'll have to make some accommodations for that with both your material selection as well as your projects. Now, like I said, other than having to have a chiller, this is very similar to most other desktop CO2s. I've had a few, and this one is right there as far as the functionality, the things that it does. It's very similar. The difference between the Reno 45 and the Reno 45 Pro, the biggest difference is going to be the controller. The controller on the Pro has the Top Wisdom controller, which to me, so far, it's one of the best controllers I've had to play around with. I've got other machines that have Ruida controllers, but for some reason, the interface and the way this one works, I haven't had any hiccups with it. I mean, it's ran really well. So I'm really digging this controller. I'm really overall digging the machine. But there were a couple of things, and these are where I like to point out to you guys. When I say that this is a budget machine, I mean it's budget. It is bare bones basic. There's not a whole lot of like added AI features to this machine. Some of you may love that because you don't have to worry about those AI features getting in your way, which is kind of how I feel about it most days. And some of you may not like it. But the things that I will point out that you're going to need to fix is when you purchase the machine, and I've got another video where I kind of go over it a little better. when you purchase the machine or you get the machine, the honeycomb just kind of sits in there and wobbles around a little bit. I took and used a little bit of engineering, which, hang on, I gotta get my Z-axis. This is your Z-axis. This lowers and raises the bed. Now, I know some of you are thinking, oh man, that's a bummer, that sucks. Actually, it doesn't. Coming from someone who has had a M40, K40 machine, just the fact that the bed goes up and down is a winner in the world of budget-friendly CO2 lasers. So the honeycomb, when it ships to you, is just a standard honeycomb. Nothing, and you can see I have used this machine. I'm not just talking about a machine I haven't ran. So it's nothing too groundbreaking. So with the honeycomb, like I said, you set the honeycomb over in here. It does have these slats. Now you can take these out if you so choose. But me personally, then I got to find somewhere to put them. I assume just leave them in there. They also help support the center of the honeycomb to make sure that it stays flat and true. So me, I just leave them in there. But when you set the honeycomb in there, it kind of sits on those little blades. So I'm going to set it in there, and I'll show you what I'm working with here. The blades actually fit like inside the honeycomb, but then it still has room. It can slide from side to side like this. Well, what I did is I went and drilled myself some little tiny holes right there, and then on the honeycomb I have put myself some screws. Well, luckily the bed blades hold it up enough to allow for my little nut right there, and so the top of that screw goes in those two holes right there. So once I set this down, and I'm going to try and do this one-handed, so bear with me if I look totally uncoordinated because I'm using one hand. So when I set that in there, I have to get these holes lined up, and the top of that bolt goes into those two little holes. Well, now that it's dropped down in those holes, the honeycomb will not slide from side to side nor front to back. And because the blades are still in there, I can put a pretty good bit of weight on this honeycomb, you know, just pushing down on it and nothing's happening. So to me, this is the best way to configure this for operation. The machine does have the little pop down tool here, and I'll show you this actually in work with some material, but it basically pops up to let you know when the focus is ready. So right here, you can see the way you work it is you pull that little plunger down, and it just kind of dangles, locks in place. And then you're going to adjust your little wrench here to raise the bed up towards it. Once you get to where it's touching, I recommend you just slow down a little bit and kind of make it more deliberate, and you'll see that thing pop up. And the moment that it pops up, that's where your focus needs to be. And so just stop moving it and put your tool away. So simple. So despite some folks' pessimism about this little approach, this actually works really well. It wouldn't hurt my feelings for me to 3D print one that has a round top. There is a knob in here that you can turn relatively easy with your fingers for small adjustments, but if you're going a long way, this is a lot easier. So at first I thought that was a little awkward, a little cumbersome, but the more that I've used it, I like it. It's one less thing to tear up, and it's one less, you know, bunch of wires and stuff like that to keep up with. So it is usable, it works, and so far, no complaints with that. Other than the honeycomb, the only other modification that I've had to make to this machine was the air assist. But there does need to be some changing in the design of their air assist system. Well, I did it for them on mine because this is the material test that I've ran with the machine, and I don't know, without me telling you, I don't know if you can tell which one was before air assist upgrade and which one was after. But if you notice up here in these little bars in between the cuts, you've got a lot more stain and darkening here than you do down here, and it's kind of hard to make out on the camera, but you should be able to tell a difference between the materials. That is the biggest thing with the air assist. That and flames. In my first video with the Reno, I did show you, and I'll try to relive that here. that without adequate air, the risk of a flame forming inside the enclosure increases. So I took it upon myself to make a few changes and add my own air assist to the machine. If you look at my machine, you'll notice that I have this little apparatus here. And what this is the line coming in from my shop air compressor that feeds this. Here we have a regulator with a water separator built into it here. This collects the water before it goes into the machine to prevent, spitting any water on the lens of the machine. I also have a cutoff valve here, and this is how I've done some of my testing that I've done. Is I can flip this valve, and this disables the air from being pushed into the machine and renders it basically using the factory air assist. With that valve in that direction, that allows the air to flow. This regulator will allow you to regulate the amount of air going into the machine. And inside here, I did install a controller-controlled solenoid that engages and disengages the air to the module, or to the gantry. And you can't see it, but down inside there, basically what I've got is I've got a T intersection that allows this air to be forced into the same existing plumbing that was already on the machine, as well as the automatic pump that's with the machine. Now, when you turn the machine on, I still have the Monport air pump is still in there. So when the machine is running, even without me turning on air assist on a layer, I've got air. That is the automatic air that comes on when you power the machine up from the factory on this machine. So basically what I've done is I now have dual stage air. I've got always on little low flow air here, and then I've got the more powerful shop air that comes on controlled by the layer, which helps me ensure that I'm getting adequate air assist working for it. And there's the chiller that I'm running. As you can see, it's just powered up and chilling down the fluids for the machine. All right, and so this morning I decided, not only would I do the plywood, but I wanted to do some materials that you guys can get as well to kind of give you an idea. So I got myself some of the True Flat material. And so if you're getting one of these machines, this may be a material type that you're going to want to use. And so decided to try it. This stuff is pre-finished, so a lot of times, even if you do have any staining or anything, a little bit of alcohol, and we'll wipe it here in just a minute, but I wanted to show you what it looked like off of the machine, just to show the difference in what happens with the air assist modifications and without it. So here are the two cuts, and we'll give you a second to try to evaluate to yourself which one you believe to be the one that was done with the modified air assist and which one was done with the factory air assist. And for the modified air assist, if you guessed this side, then you guessed correctly. As you can see, power as far as cutting ability, not a big change. There will, very, very slight differences in the cutting quality. And I'll try to show that to you. There's just a little bit like the air assist side's a little smoother, a little sleeker around the edges. Other than that, the speeds that you're going to be running are not going to change drastically. The difference in the cut is not going to be enough to really run it fast or anything like that. But you will notice that there's a lot less scorching, a lot less burning around the material. Now both sides on the back, like I said, it looks the same on the back. I'm using a honeycomb, using air assist. It's doing a really good job. You will notice that you get a little more smudge no matter what air assist or not. If the cut doesn't go all the way through on the first pass, you're going to get more soot than without. So now that you've got a good look at that, let me grab some alcohol and clean this up. I'm going to show you what it looks like after you wipe it down. So one thing I will tell you with the rubbing alcohol on the True Flat, don't leave it on there too long. Something in the alcohol, if it's too moist, it can cause the coating to come loose. Windex is probably a better alternative, but somebody's got to go shopping. I'm out of Windex. So we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of rubbing alcohol in there and really quick, just wipe it off with the microfiber cloth. Now, pre-finished material has become one of my go-tos. Like, I like some pre-finished materials. I'm trying to be equal with my vigorously cleaning here. All right, so with basically using the same technique, the same chemical, the same amount of pressure, as much as I can. It's not scientific, okay, but I did the whole thing to basically make sure that the whole thing got the same amount of attention. You can see with the older air assist, again, you've got a lot more staining on those little pieces in the middle between the cuts. And the reason you're going to see a lot more of that there is because that little thin piece of material does get warmer than, say, some of the other material, because it's right next to the cut, and being that there's no material near it, it just tends to catch all the crap. So there you go. So you can see with the modifications to the air assist, without the modifications. So especially with materials such as this, you're going to get a lot better look, a lot better cut with decent air assist than without. Now, could you make do with this if this was your first CO2 investment as far as a machine goes? Yes, you can make do with it, but just know that Clack's telling you the air assist is not great. It's going to need some attention. It's going to need some upgrades. The upgrades that I did to the air assist, parts wise, $20 worth of, you know, a solenoid, a little bit of hose, like some connectors and stuff like that. So I'm going to say $40 worth of parts. You could buy everything that you needed, because you're going to have to buy the kit with the connectors and stuff. $40 and a little bit of ability and skills, a couple of tools around the shop, and you could upgrade this air assist like I did. So, and I've got a video of some of the steps that I'll show you real quick. But my buddy Steve over in Tari's Workshop has a really in-depth video. And then Brett over at Brett's Laser Garage, or I'm not sure what he changed the name of it to. But Brett's got a video also that's very similar. I'm not about reinventing the wheel. So I'll put links to those two guys' videos for changing the air assist on this machine for you to go check it out. And check out the channel while you're there. Give them a like, thumbs up, tell them Clack Shack sent you. It'd be cool. So there you go. The upgrades definitely make a difference. So if you do get this machine, just know that that's probably something you're going to want to put on your to-do list. It's kind of like buying a fixer-upper car. You know you've got to do these things when you purchase it, and that's what I'm trying to let you guys know. This thing's not perfect out of the box, but with a little bit of work, it's a formidable CO2 laser. All right, so if you already have a diode laser and you're looking at getting into this machine, just for those materials that your diode will not mess with currently, the two things that primarily people want a CO2 for that already have a diode laser or a 455 blue diode laser is acrylics and glass, because we all know that blue diodes do not do those well. You can etch, mark, you know, leave a mark using binding agents, paint, marking spray, whatever the case may be. But to actually cut clear acrylic and make things from clear acrylic, you kind of got to get a CO2. Now, UV lasers can engrave clear objects and do a really, really good job with high resolution, but those things are really expensive. So, you know, per square inch of work area, UV right now, it's the most expensive thing on the market. So CO2 is the affordable alternative. And here's some acrylics that I've cut with the machine since I've been testing it. And it's most every color. The thing with CO2, guys, basically CO2 lasers don't care what color something is. They don't care if they can see through it or not, or if you can see through it or not, because the wavelength of light that CO2s use isn't the same wavelength of light that you and I can see. It's not the light that passes through glass that we can see. It's basically an invisible light that can't see through glass. And so therefore, CO2 lasers could care less what color the acrylic is or whether it even has a color or not. So if you're wanting to make little cool things like that, like this little guy, like this is a base that I got off of Amazon, and I just used some acrylic, made this Christmas tree. And of course I added those little circles to kind of look like the Christmas balls. But basically that's just using refracted light from this little base. So if I pull it out of there, it's really not that impressive. It's the lighted base that really makes it pop. So if you're interested in this guy, then I'll put links to this down below too. Now the acrylic part, I made this with the Reno. So that's why a lot of you guys are gonna want a CO2 if you're already into laser engraving. So clear acrylics for cutting stuff out. That's something that a lot of you guys probably would want. All right. And then you have these awards, these acrylic awards, and this is a test piece. So it's got some stuff on the other side that's all messed up. So I'm trying not to show you that as much, but this is an engrave I did with this machine. I actually did it this morning using the same exact settings that I did for the acrylic Christmas tree. So this is basically just a really thick piece of acrylic. You can buy these at JDS, Johnson Plastics. There's a lot of places that sell similar or same as these. I think this one actually came from JDS. A friend of mine who owns a shop in town turned me on to them, and they're really cool for like little trophies, like employee of the month, whatever the case may be. You can knock those out relatively quick. The blanks are not cheap, but if you know settings for clear acrylic, use the same settings. So there you go. All right. So with my little lighted base, the thing that I like about these is also that you can make several different little signs. And so there's my Farm Fresh Christmas trees that I made also. So these, my wife's probably going to take them. These little bases, by the way, they do take batteries, or you can use like a power supply or a phone charger to power them. Pretty neat. So there's that. The settings. So some of you probably just want to see my settings. So I'm going to let you have a peek here at the settings. And if you're trying to snag my settings, guys, you're just going to have to hit the pause button because we're not going to go over all of them. But what I did do is I wound up going with like 300 speed and like 70% output. Anywhere from 60 to 70 works, depending on the acrylic. Some acrylics tend to take it a little better. You can up the LPI just a little, but with CO2s, I actually think you're better off, instead of upping the LPI, just raise the focus a bit and pull it out of focus just a touch to get a little bit more step over on your beam. So yeah, this clear acrylic also, I think this comes from Johnson Plastics Plus, and I'll drop a link to where I get this from down there below. But that machine enables all types of stuff. Glass, same thing. And I even had some folks ask me about the crystals. Oh, I want to engrave on crystals. Can CO2s do the crystals? Okay, they can on the surface, okay? On the surface of the crystals, yes, the CO2 can engrave it. But as we said earlier, because the CO2 can't see through the material, it can't engrave in the middle of it either. So that is a unique thing with UV, is because it can go through it, but it can still engrave it. But there's a lot of science goes into that. So with the CO2 laser, because it can't see through it, it cannot engrave inside it. So if you wanted to do some stuff on the outside of the K9 crystals, yes, it works. I tried it. I used the same settings as I did for glass and acrylic, and it works. I didn't tune it in because that's not something that I got the Monport for, but enough people had asked me, can it do it? So there you go. Outside surface engraving, absolutely. Inside, not happening. So there you go, guys. Let's wrap this up. All right, guys. So one thing that I almost forgot to mention was that this machine, even though it doesn't have a complete pass-through, if you get larger material than what the machine can cut, an easy fix is just to open up the little pass-through slot in the front. You can slide the material in as deep as possible. I have a command programmed, it's just a little cut file that's programmed into the machine that I can pull up that basically allows me to cut just a line from one side of the work area to the other. So I'm going to select that, pull that command up, or that program up, and I'm going to execute that. You'll see here, I'm going to frame it out just to show you what it does first. It's just going to run over, and from one side to the other, it is going to make a cut. And so for this demonstration, keep from cutting up any of my material, I use just a piece of cardboard box. And you'll see there that it starts on the side of the work area, and just whatever speed and power you have it set to, it's just going to run across there, because all you're doing is saving a job to the machine. And that's one reason that I really do like this Top Wisdom controller, is so if you're somebody that doesn't have a table saw or doesn't have tools and you want to break down some 12 by 24 sheets to use with the machine, there you go. It's a simple way of doing it. So just wanted to include that in the video before we got out of here. I didn't set my settings right though. All right, guys, so there you have it. Now, a lot of people are going to say that, oh, Monport's support is terrible, all these different things. Me personally, I haven't had any major issues with Monport's support, but full disclosure, I haven't really needed them. That is a decision that you have to make as an individual. Is your budget, does your budget allow for you to have great customer support with your product? Or are you one of those folks that would rather, take your chances and just learn how to fix and repair and do the things yourself, and maybe not have as good of a technical support? Like I said, I can't say whether their tech support is good, bad, or whatever. I've heard some great stories about their support. I've heard some terrible stories about their support. There are people out there that would tell you that the Clack Shack won't return your messages and doesn't respond to emails. But the truth is, I do. Those are just the one or two people that weren't happy because I didn't respond 10 minutes from the time they sent the message. And so those are going to be the ones that are going to be so vocal on the internet. So you've always got to remember that the angry customer is going to be the loudest customer out there. So do your own homework, do your research, make that decision. It's your money, you're spending it. Decide what you want to do. But for me, as far as a entry-level, affordable machine, affordable yet capable. I think that's affordable but capable. Yeah, that's a good little coined phrase right there, because the machine is affordable, but it is also capable of doing things that you're going to want to do with the machine. Now, to make it better so that you don't have to use a bucket to cool it, and so that you don't have to worry about the honeycomb moving, or so that you don't have to worry about the air assist not being adequate, there are some things that you could do to it, but those aren't required to get you started. Those could be things that you do later on. But I do recommend, if you purchase this machine, at least the air assist, you go ahead and plan on doing some changes to the air assist to make it better for you. Now, with the acrylics, to be honest, the air assist didn't seem to cause as big of an issue with flames and stuff with the acrylics as it did with the wood. But if you're going to be doing wood, MDF, the more flammable materials, I would definitely look at upgrading the air assist. It's almost like just for safety's sake. So, but all in all, guys, for the money, the purchase is not a bad deal. The size of the machine is doable. It's one person can move it around if need be. There's a lot of pros to the machine. So all in all, I've been running it for a few weeks now. I've been using it on a lot of projects. The only thing that I have a big question mark about is tumblers, because if this thing would do tumblers as well as it does the other things, it would definitely be one of those machines I would consider keeping in the shop and using on a regular basis, because that's something that I do a pretty good bit of. Currently, I don't have the rotary for the machine. I know they make them, but I don't have the one that's designed for this machine. But I'm going to work towards that and see if I can't come out with a way to have this thing do some tumblers for me. So there you go, guys. I hope the video was helpful. I hope it answered some questions for you. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop those in the comments down below, and I'll try to get to them when I can. But check down below for the links for all the materials and stuff like that. I always appreciate it when you guys use the affiliate links, because it does help go to, kind of keep the lights on around the place. So until next time, be safe and have a good day.